Hi everybody, thanks for watching. I'm here at home finally after a whirlwind visit to the Ohio Pawpaw Festival. I've got tons of video in my phone from the festival, but there's a lot of issues editing all this stuff together, freeing up space, etc. My cat's going to now come and meow during the entirety of this. Um, I wanted to give congratulations to George and Kylene Hale, who I'm hoping to maybe run into down in Louisville this weekend. They were the winners at the Ohio Pawpaw Festival, along with Isaac Busby. Kylene, just to review, took first place with the Wabash, Isaac
Took second
with
place.
a Layman's Delight, and George took third with a Shenandoah. Now, there's been a lot of confusion going on around the biggest pawpaw from Rob Meadows. As I understand it, and this is a game of telephone now that this has become, but I'm going to give you what information that I'm operating under. They read at the festival Shenandoah. Rob thought that it was a Susquehanna. I don't know where the confusion along the way happened, but somehow it got changed over from Susquehanna to Shenandoah. Now, I wanted to verify this with Rob in person, but he left midday Sunday before I could get a comment from him from the NAPGA tent. I didn't realize he was leaving early. So he was going to check his notes and get back to us about which cultivar it actually was. And it sounds now, after a phone call from NAPGA President Dan Matisik to myself on Tuesday morning, that the pawpaw, the biggest pawpaw, was in fact a Potomac. Now, I'm too out of the loop to really comment one way or the other on this, but I'm going to say this: those are all Peterson varieties. They're all probably big and delicious pawpaws. Fine. Potomac was a former winner at other pawpaw festivals previously for biggest. So, and one from Ivan Sinkowski last year, if I'm not mistaken, was suspected as being a Potomac, but it was down the hill from several orchard trees, one of which was a Potomac, one of which was a seedling tree. So, but the seedlings never generated big, delicious fruit like those. So it's probably a Potomac, but it was listed as wild. So this gets to the point of how tricky it is to keep track of all these different trees and which ones they are in large orchard plantings, even small ones. Because honestly, I'm going to give an backyard tour today of my plants just to kind of show what I have and explain some of my own challenges that I've had with record keeping. So this tree was one of my first ones planted ever from the Tollgate Gardens and Nursery, and it's a grafted tree. I don't know which one it is. I think this is Taylor, though, because I have one that I'm pretty sure is also Taylor, and they have this distinctive little tailbone right here, little point, and they don't get super big. Now I have another tree that is I believe to be Taylor as well. That's a little more mature, has been putting out fruit. But this one got broken off and was very slow growing, but it was above the graft. So it has regrown above the graft, and it is whatever it was grafted as. But unfortunately, my notes were destroyed somewhere in the process of all this. So I don't even know. And I'm sure a lot of other growers are encountering this problem, and as well as the people that are, inheriting orchards where somebody else has taken the notes. And this is becoming a serious problem because we've lost some pawpaw greats, both Jerry Lehman and Wynn Dinson more recently down in, I want to say, North Carolina. Somebody who I've never actually met, but who was a big pawpaw enthusiast, orchardist, and had copious notes, but their orchard is now in flux. So I think I see one that's got some browning. It's soft and it's not punctured. Oh, is it punctured? Yeah. So this is what I'm running into now as a problem here. It's been a very cool season, and I've had a lot of squirrel bites. Oh, this whole thing just came off. Unfortunately, this one's not as soft, but these places where the squirrels have tested, we're now having cool temperatures and a lot of rain, and they're tending to split along those squirrel kisses, which is unfortunate. And I've left them be, the ones that had those chomps, because I'm curious to see if they ripen or not, but it's causing a lot of problems with maybe half my fruit. So this tree may be Taylor, I'm not sure. This is the first year, or maybe second year, that it's put out a significant amount of fruit. I've also grafted some side branches, none of which are good. They're fine, but they're not putting out fruit yet. But it's hopefully to increase pollination. But here's another squirrel wrecked fruit that I think I'm just going to pick these. There's, well, I'll pick this one because a lot of these where the squirrel has chomped, it's now splitting, and then insects are accessing that, and it's not worth it. So I'll deal with that one later. I don't want to get the fruit flies from it in the house. Let's check and see if we have any other soft fruits. What you're looking for, and we've talked about this in other videos, is like a peach-like softness around the neck if you're going to try to hand pick. A lot of people just let them fall and pick up the ones that have dropped. I'm very particular about these because, you know, these are the first fruits I'm getting, and I'm trying to catalog them and keep notes, or at least learn, taste them with a discerning tongue, and try to figure out which trees I really like the best, and then kind of go from there in terms of any of the grafting. But a lot of these are kind of small, dinky fruits. They're not like the Peterson varieties, but this is an older variety. Okay, so this video is getting really long in the tooth. Let's just go over what we can find. Okay, this is one I know. This is Benson. So I labeled it, and these are my orchard tags. It's small yet. This is a grafted one that I don't have notes for, but you can see the grafting scar here. You don't have to look too hard, but it's there, believe me. This is one, it's either a wild selection or possibly one of the trees on South 6th Street. Same goes for this one, grafted, but I don't necessarily have the notes in front of me. I need to prune this here so that this narrow crotch goes away. But this showed some vigorous growth this year. It's looking good. Yeah, you don't like us being in the front yard without me. This one is Tollgate, and I believe now there's some question about whether or not my fruits were Tollgate, but I'm almost certain they are. It's because of my destroyed notes. But I grafted a lot of branches, I think, with Tollgate on this tree because that was the variety that I liked the most from the Tollgate nursery. So it's, to the best of my knowledge, Tollgate, and I think this one is actually grafted from my branch that had the award-winning fruit from my win one year. This is Rappahannock. I don't have this one labeled with a tag, but I have it mapped on a spreadsheet in my computer, so I will tag this shortly. But it's a micro graft that I was able to successfully make using leftover scion from Chris Rice, aka Pawpaws plants. You can cut, but we're going to go in the gate now. A quick shout out to Papa Pawpaw at Pawpaws Plants in Rock Island, Illinois. He's having a pawpaw tasting this weekend, and also thanks for stirring the pot on Facebook a little. I think I might try it myself. He's hosting a pawpaw tasting at his orchard in Rock Island. He's on Facebook. Check him out. This is about the closest you're going to get to a festival here in northern Illinois, so you better go. Pawpaws were in short supply at the Ohio Pawpaw Festival. We usually have 5 times this, I would say, at the NAPGA tent. We were limiting sales to a ½ pound per person and $15 for the ½ pound. Ohio Pawpaw Festival organizer Chris Chamille was also limiting sales and had samples on hand for people that had traveled from far and wide to taste a pawpaw. Papa Pawpaw, or should I say Daddy's, not going to charge you to taste his pawpaws. The catch is the seeds stay with him. So this variety, it's a grafted tree. I'm pretty sure this is a Peterson variety, possibly Tallahatchie, though I'm not 100% on this one. I got a couple pieces of scion from Bob Johnson when he visited briefly, and then I grafted and then just, lost to the sands of time. And look at this, a fresh squirrel chomp. I don't know if that's going to heal or how that's going to work out. I should probably pull it now, but I'll let it go a couple days to see if it becomes an issue. This one is one that I'm pretty certain is Taylor, and it's actually doing real well this year. It has some of the biggest fruit that I've ever seen on Taylor. I mean, they're not huge, but they're good size. I haven't seen any ripe ones on this guy to speak of yet. The next tree, this one is a seedling tree of mine, and this is one I'm calling VP3, and it's got some really, really big fruits. And these are this is the child of the 2 trees that the old ones I like here in DeKalb, which I call Velvet Pineapple and Puddin' Cup, aka VP1 and PC1 respectively. Those trees are unfortunately in decline, but they were they generated the seed stock of most of my trees. This has some, the notable thing about this is the the even ripening and fruit set. I don't think I've observed clusters of more than 4, maybe 5, but you know, there relatively few fruits in a cluster without thinning, and it's got almost freestone-like seeds, so that's good. This one is PC2, aka I haven't come up with a name for this one yet, but I'm basically my naming strategy is which parent does the tree resemble more, pudding cup or velvet pineapple, since those are the parents, and then the order in which the trees have ripened. So PC1, the first, PC2, its child, theoretically, because those two trees are cross-pollinating one another. This has smaller, on the side of smaller fruit that set in more numerous clusters, which is more like pudding cup, and it ripens earlier, theoretically, but actually this hasn't ripened a whole lot of fruit yet this year. But this one's got a pumpkin cotton candy sort of flavor going on, and oddly that's pretty close to its abbreviation, so it may have a name eventually. We'll see if I introduce any of these as cultivars or not. This is still in the testing phase. I'm maybe year 3 of getting fruit here. So this one has some nice ones, but again, squirrel chomps all over. This is PC3. This was the next one to ripen, but actually this year it's putting out fruit earlier than PC2, but it has less of a fruit load. This one is PC4, which is interesting, but like somewhat disappointing in other respects. It probably has the least promising flavor, but it puts out, and these are soft. I could probably pick these ones. It has the least size of any of the fruits, but it's always loaded with these clusters of small ones, but they're kind of late ripening. I'm looking for ones that are early ripening, but these ones kind of spanned into October last year, and for smaller fruit. So that's unfortunate, but I think these might be ones that could mail well. I think the trick for a lot of these cultivars is looking for creative uses for them. The freestone one I think could maybe be really good for brewing, because if you're processing a lot of pulp by hand, etc., it might be just the thing. This tree, I'm pretty sure, is top grafted with Davis. Unfortunately, now I could be mistaken, but this one's starting to get a little soft, but it's still kind of hard. You want that real dent in and almost like they want to drop. So I'm probably going to put this in a sock soon, or a pantyhose. But okay, so this is the root stock down here, and again, it was probably a seed, or I'm almost certain it was a seedling of pudding cup and velvet pineapple, but this is the first time that this low branch has put out fruit, and it's loaded and it looks pretty good. There's way more fruit than on the grafted part. I haven't tried these fruit yet, so I'm very excited to maybe give them a try and see how the flavor is. Could be good, could be bad. You never know with pawpaws because they're not true to seed. Okay. You can see here, this doesn't have any fruit on it this year, but I believe this was the award-winning branch of Tollgate, and you can see how it's been pulled down by the weight of fruit that was on this in years past. Now, here's another branch this year that is super loaded. I believe this to be Tollgate as well, and I've got these all socked up. But this tree was a sucker tree that I dug from Pawpaw, Illinois. It does have a couple areas where it's just the rootstock where it's been allowed to grow, but then the top, from basically where that sawn off branch is and above, I want to say the grafting scar, it's not hardly visible anymore, but it's somewhere in this vicinity. That is pudding cup, which is one of the old trees, the one that's especially in decline here in DeKalb. This has a bunch of other like side grafted branches and stuff you can see. So moving along, this one is a top graft of VP1. That's the velvet pineapple, the old tree in DeKalb. You can see the grafting scar. There's some stuff growing below the graft, but I'm just going to leave it because this tree just showed up in the yard. I may have planted this one. It could be a root sucker that I dug, put in the ground. It did nothing and then suddenly came up. It could be a seed from one of my trees. I don't know. So we're going to let the rootstock do something down here. It's not typical. People want them to be, you know, all one tree usually, but I'm working with really limited space here. Lastly, well, Here are two varieties that are short and looking unfortunately stressed. They're planted in the same hole, and we have a cat buried down there, Stardust. So these were grafted very low. I don't know what this stuff is, but that does not look good to me. I may have to eventually cull these trees, but this is also, yes, hello. This is like looking stressed here, and hi, do not bite me. This is, I don't know, I'm not sure what's going on with these. I'm guessing that it's probably them jammed so closely together causing possible issues, or maybe it's a slow rejection of the grafts. I don't even know which varieties they are. Maybe it's something underground causing the problems. This last one here, this is VP2. This is just a seedling tree. It hasn't put out a lot. Hummingbirds. This is one that's been grafted with tollgate. It's overrun by morning glories right now, but it's been kind of helping to shade it. This was an orchard, a nursery tree that I bought, and I have grafted NC1 using the bark modified bark flat. No, I'm sorry, the bark inlay graft on a stump. I believe this is a method that Neil Peterson has videos of online. So that's NC1. It's looking, there was a late season graft. It's looking a little stressed. I'm not sure how that's going to go. This one's looking healthier. This one's overrelease, and that's again a stump graft on a nursery tree. Back there in the middle is a seedling from John Maxon's orchard in West Virginia. Excuse me, not orchard, but it was the nicest tasting, biggest pawpaw that we collected when we went to stay with him after the Pawpaw Festival one year. He is no longer with us, unfortunately, but he was a competitor in the winemaking category, and he made tons and tons of fruit wines, including pawpaw and persimmon. So it was really lucky that we got to stay at his place, because it was one of those magical places for pawpaws. You just, when you start, traveling in regards to pawpaws, you start finding neat people in magical places. And I know people are very interested in cultivars and stuff, but I talked with Glenn Lawfer, another pawpaw fanatic such as myself, about this, and part of the fun is just traveling all over and seeing these wonderful places and meeting these wonderful people. In the back, that's way in the back there, it's a root sucker that's coming up from another tree that I cut down, and I'm probably going to try to graft the root sucker in the spring. Those are my trees. Stay tuned. I'm going to have more videos from the Pawpaw Festival as I edit them and get them together, but there's a lot of file transfer issues that I'm running into, plus I've been traveling and just doing a lot of stuff. So this is a crazy time of year. Thanks for watching. Here's a look at some of the fruit I've been collecting. VP1, the North Tree on South 6th. I collected these. It was, I think, the last of the fruits that it had. It was a very sparse year on that tree. It often is, and I think it's partly due to how far apart the two trees are. PC5, that's the low branch that was loaded on the tree that I suspect is Davis, but I am not 100%. PC3, that's one of my seedling trees. That one had really good flavor, according to my buddy Glenn. This is off the front tree that I suspect is Taylor. Another PC3. This one fell while I was gone. Tollgate. This is off one of the side branches on that sucker tree. These were all like soft picked, basically. That's got a bit of a split, unfortunately, but I'll probably let that ripen a little bit and then try to consume it. It's soft, but I like them just a little softer than that. There's an edge. There's a squirrel chomp, but it seems intact and not causing splitting on this one. This is, again, VP3, that nice one that has not huge clusters. They're good size. I don't know, it's probably like 8 ounces or so. Maybe 10. I don't know. Who cares? They taste pretty good, and they're freestone, and they're even, and they're my babies. BC3.